Continuing with ionic and covalent bonding compounds, and we are dealing with bonding in them. And in this video you will learn about covalent bond and network bonding, or we call them as molecular solids also. And covalent bond is formed between groups of 4, 5, 6, 7 with compounds in group 4, 5, 6, 7. You may not follow what I am saying now. We will go further and you will understand it. And it is formed between two non-metals. So let's go ahead and learn more about it. So let's see how a covalent bond is formed. Consider the elements Cl and Cl. So let's write down their electronic configuration, and you can see that their outer electronic configuration has 7 electrons ending with 3s2 3p5, and put it in the form of Lewis structure. You can see that we have 3 paired electrons and 1 unpaired electron on each of the chlorine. And now these 1 unpaired electron, so you know that for any element to be stable, it has to complete its octet, or it should have 8 electrons around it. So each one of this chlorine, now they have 7, and each one needs 1 more. So in ionic bond you saw that the electrons get completely lost and a charge is formed on the atom. But in this case what happens is, since each one needs 1, they come close by and share the electrons. So you can see there that we have the 3 pairs on the 3 sides of the Cl, but in the middle we have that 1 electron which comes from both the Cls. And now whenever we have 2 electrons close by, a bond is formed. So the bond which is shown there between the 2 Cls is called as the covalent bond. So what is actually happening is, each one needs 1 electron. Let's say that instead of losing any of it, let's share it, and that's a covalent bond is formed. So what is actually a covalent bond? If I say that electrons are shared between 2 elements and a bond is formed, and these electrons is attracted to nuclei of both the atoms, and as a result both the elements have a complete octet. So let's do some examples of covalent compounds. And as I said before, it is formed between 2 nonmetals, or when hydrogen or group 4, 5, 6, 7 elements combine with each other, a covalent bond is formed. Some of the examples given over there are chlorine, bromine, oxygen, nitrogen, and then I have given you some compounds with hydrogen also, HCl, water, ammonia, methane, etc. Now the number of bonds formed between the elements depends on the number of electrons they share. For example, consider Cl and Cl. They share 1 electron each. That means there is 2 electrons between the 2 Cl, and hence a single bond is formed. But in case of oxygen, because each oxygen has 6 outer electronic configuration, so needs 2 more, hence in between 2 oxygens we have 2 pairs of electrons, and hence a double bond is formed. And in case of nitrogen, which has 5 outer electrons, and in order to complete the octet it needs 3 more electrons. Therefore each nitrogen shares 3 electrons, and hence there are 3 pairs of electrons in between the 2 nitrogen, and a triple bond is formed. So point to be noted is, each bond means 2 electrons. And all the compounds of carbon, they form covalent bonds, and compounds of carbon have a special chemistry allotted to them, and that we call as organic chemistry. So let's do further on covalent bonding. We are dealing with covalent bonding in ionic compounds. So what I mean by that is, in case of compounds of carbon, phosphorus, sulfur and oxygen, when they form polyatomic ions like carbonate, phosphate, sulfates, the bond is covalent. So what is the bond which is covalent? The bond which is formed between carbon and oxygen, or the phosphorus and oxygen, or the sulfur and oxygen, is covalent. And these polyatomic ions, they have a charge on them. just like carbonate has 2 minus, phosphate has 3 minus, and sulfate has 2 minus, they can get attracted to cations and an ionic bond is formed. For example, consider the formation of calcium carbonate. Calcium, you know that in order to become stable, it loses 2 electrons because it belongs to group 2 and gets a Ca2 plus charge. The carbonate, just now we are written over there, and CO3 has 2 minus charge on it, and then the positive and the 2 negative charges gets attracted to each other and the compound formed is calcium carbonate. So therefore calcium carbonate is an ionic compound, but the bonding in the carbonate ion, the CO3 2 minus ion, is covalent. And similarly, there is one more compound I have written over there is ammonium ion and sulfate ion. Ammonium ion individually has all covalent bonding as shown there. Sulfate ion individually has all ionic bonding, covalent bonding. The bonding between sulfur and oxygen is covalent. But when these two come together, a positive ion and a negative ion, they form ionic bond. So some of the properties of covalent compounds are, they have relatively low melting and boiling points. You can see that most of them are either gases or liquids. Examples like carbon dioxide is a gas, water is a liquid, and they are more soft and flexible. They do not conduct electricity when dissolved in water, and most of them are insoluble in water. So other than covalent bonds in ionic compounds, we have covalent bonds in something called as network solids. A network solid has atoms bonded by covalent bonds in a continuous network, and they have very high melting point. Some of the examples of network solids are diamond. It is a 3-dimensional network of carbon, and graphite is also another example that has a 2-dimensional layers of covalently bonded compounds, covalently bonded carbon atoms, and the diagram is given over there. The one on the left hand side is diamond and the other one is graphite, and you can see the multiple number of covalent bonds. Because of the large number of covalent bonds, these compounds have high melting points. And another example is a 3-dimensional network of silicon dioxide units, and that is quartz, and the structure of quartz is also given there. These are some of the covalent compounds which have very high melting